How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday, 11:30 a.m. That's California time here, May 15th, 2025. Already halfway through the month of May. Goodness, summer is just right around the corner. A live look at the seismograph stations there across various areas around the globe show pretty quiet conditions for now. A little bit of movement happening up here north of Japan this morning with a 5-pointer. Been watching this area pretty closely here. A lot of movement north and to the southwest here of the south coast of Japan. The Nankai Trough under quite a bit of strain there. As far as larger activity goes overnight, got that 5-pointer up north. Some movement in the Baja California area, also down here across the southern Pacific. So let's get into it, see what we got going on. For Southern California area now, I know the USGS is not showing that earthquake activity that's happening down here across Baja California, but it looks like there's a little swarm going on down there well south of the border of Southern California. That could stir things up eventually as it makes its way northward along that plate boundary, but I see at least one 4-pointer there in the mix. Again, USGS not showing that. As far as anything above 2.5 being listed on the California map, a couple earthquakes there in Nevada today. Looks like the swarm is intensifying up here across northern Nevada. Just a handful of earthquakes up there in the 3 range, getting close up to the 4 magnitude range. I'll check that out here in just a second. San Francisco area further up north here. Got a couple earthquakes. One on the San Andreas Fault outside the San Francisco Zoo. And a couple earthquakes here across some of these inland fault systems. One close to the Hayward Fault, little 2.3 this morning. So things are starting to move out here. I wouldn't doubt it if we see things increase here across Southern California following that 4-pointer and some movement stirring up down here across the plate boundary. Right now, there's just a handful of smaller quakes. Nothing big. Most of these here, in fact, from yesterday. Nevada, quite a few earthquakes out here across western Nevada here recently. Even one outside of Las Vegas. And taking a look up here to the north around Valmy, I believe that's correct, a number of earthquakes out here. And I do want to show you guys the historical model here real quick. Just going to go back. Well, we don't want to go too far back here. We can go back just until the first of the year. And then I want to draw a little area out here and show you guys the historical model. They still haven't fixed their maps here. I'm kind of have to guess where the state lines are. Let me pull up the other USGS map because I don't want to cover everything out here. I just need. I guess you can barely see it here if you look. If you look close enough. Boy, no, I don't think so. It's hard to see. All right, let's just go over here and take a wild guess. That should be it. Let's use this region, search for these earthquakes. And here's the area of interest. Got a decent amount of earthquake activity here with really no main quake. I don't think we had anything of any decent size out here. It's just been a swarm of earthquakes out there in the desert of Nevada. Not for sure what's out there aside from desert. Looks like maybe some type of greenery. Maybe there's a stream out here. Hot lake. Maybe some older volcanic activity stirring up out here. It looks like 6 to 7 miles deep in this region. Let's see. Although, look at this. Are those camping sites or are those some type of fracking pads out there? Those may be camping sites. But a little bit of earthquake activity stirring up out there today. Let me go back here and see what we got for large magnitude in this area. We're going to go 4.5 and above and just check all the records here as far as what the USGS has in their earthquake book, so to speak. And a bunch of earthquakes loading here. Now that is to the northeast here of Winnemucca. That'd be, I guess, in this region here. Somewhere around this area. 4.8 back in 1968. 4.5, 1968. So I don't see any records of any large earthquake activity out here. All look to be in the 4 range. 5-pointer way up north, Paradise Valley, Nevada, back in 1916. So it's hard to say. We'll watch that closely. It's starting to, it almost looks like it's could be some older volcanic activity out there. And occasionally those regions do get hit with earthquakes. All right, let's see. Northern California, Cascadia subduction zone tremor has been quite amplified out here in the last week or so. Let me show you guys yesterday's tremor events. 453 epicenters of tremor across the southern end of the Cascadia. The locked area sits offshore here. That is obviously a decent amount of tremor, and it has been shown some signs of stress and strain with resulting earthquakes happening across this area of the plate boundary. Watching this pretty closely. For the northern part here, looks like that's tapered off as of yesterday, but in the last week we've had a little bit of filling in here as well with tremor activity. Now that's a slow slip event between the two plates here, indicative that they're slipping, so to speak, being pushed down further into the subduction zone, and that is adding further strain as that plate there, the remnants of it, Juan de Fuca plate, is disappearing underneath the North American plate, slowly but surely. But it builds up steam and momentum for a mega quake, the last one back in 1700, of at least a 9.0. So we'll check back on that a little bit later on this evening. That doesn't come out until about 7 o'clock my time, as far as the tremor counts go. For Washington and Oregon, a handful of earthquakes up here in Washington at least, including a felt earthquake up here across this area off 97. This has been an area of interest with a bunch of earthquake activity here recently near Loomis. 22 earthquakes in the last 30 days. This is one of those regions that really didn't have any main shake out here either, just a little swarm of movement and no resulting cause and effect there. Could be leading to some bigger earthquake activity. Historically, there's some large earthquakes that's happened further southwest of this area. Definitely keep an eye on that. Let's see, Yellowstone National Park over here having a little bit of some earthquake activity. Let me show you guys here. Make sure I got the recent data. It's happening around Maple Creek there in the northwest corner of Yellowstone National Park. Fairly evident here of the smaller spikes on the graph that those are indeed earthquakes, not thunderstorms here. These are legit earthquakes, nothing big. I think the largest one out here is going to be a 2-pointer. 2.0 at 0641. So that would match 0641 would match this area right here. Now this is mountain time, so that's why it's reading about 741 compared to my 0641, right? Early in the morning. So that's a 2-pointer. That means the rest of these out here are well underneath the 2.0 range. There's some earthquake activity in Idaho that got picked up, some 3-pointers. But there is some local seismic activity going on there across Yellowstone. It's not as intense as that earthquake swarm we had here a couple weeks back, but kicking up a little bit. And it's in that same area out here, outside of Hebgen Lake. That area can get some big earthquakes, and that's an overall sign and pattern out here of increasing pressurization going on here across the plate boundary, and the Intermountain West regions showing that strain. Idaho's been seeing it, Nevada. If this was just localized there to Yellowstone and upwelling and swelling of the land, I would assume that's, some volcanic activity, but it's not. This is stress strain. There's quite a few fault systems out here, and it's well outside the Yellowstone caldera, and we've checked the inflation charts out here. They're going down. All right, Texas oil fields still rocking and rolling out there in the liquid gold fields. New Madrid seismic zone. One earthquake this morning, 2.5. Just seems like we have an earthquake there every day or so. That brings up total tally of earthquakes across the New Madrid seismic zone. There's 25. Quite active out there. No big earthquakes yet, but still very much alive. It seems like earthquakes are starting to ramp up out there. All right, as far as the world view goes, the last 24 hours, the largest magnitude is going to go to yesterday's 5.9, but today we got a 5.0. north here of right around the Japan area, 62 miles deep there into that subduction zone. Looks like the southern end here of the Crow-Kamchatka Trench. A couple different zones here. Of course, that 9-pointer struck, I believe, was up here across the northern end of the Japan Trench back in 2011. The Crow-Kamchatka is fairly well primed, though, for some larger activity. Let's see what we got here on the Earthquake 3D globe. South America, take a little back seat there for earthquakes. Not a whole lot going on. 1 4-pointer up north. A bunch of activity happening around the Filipino plate again. Keeping an eye, I keep saying it, but it needs to be watched closely. The Nankai Trough up here. A little swarming going on there across the Java Trench, following that deeper activity from last night. New Zealand, nothing big, just some 2s and 3s out there, but good possibility we could see this on the increase here today due to the general plate activity south here along the Pacific plate. That normally puts a strain out there across New Zealand. When we get things moving out here across this area of the plate boundary where those earthquakes are happening right now, the general arrows here of the GPS map show that plate moving off in that direction. So that should add further strain, increasing earthquakes out there across the area of New Zealand. 5.0 across Turkey. Dead center Turkey, it looks like. That earthquake follows some larger movement out there in the last 7 days or so. Quite active out here as far as regional movement goes. So yeah, 6 miles deep there off the plate boundary, well inland. About 5 o'clock this morning. The Atlantic Ocean, fairly quiet. Not a whole lot showing up out there. Some older movement from last night in Iceland. Quick glance here at the Hawaii inflation charts. I do like to double check this, see if there's anything changing here. Still looks the same. In fact, you know, the last 21 episodes of up and down here in inflation and deflation, eruption, pauses, and all that stuff is continuing. If I had the extra money and extra time, I'd be flying out there to catch the eruption that's probably going to happen here. I'd probably say another day or so, maybe in about 2 days. It's been a rinse and repeat cycle with almost, you can almost predict here exactly when that eruption happens there across Kilauea Volcano, just because of the ongoing cycles there. And this could go on for months and years, pending nothing blocks down below. But yeah, it's still on chart here to have some another eruption here in a couple days. All right, space weather activity. Another M flare this morning. Decent size M flare kicking up here. It looks like an M2.1. Let's see, that's about right. And that came off a sunspot right here, number 4087. That's been the culprit of a few M flares and at least one strong X flare. The complexity model here looks a little different. Notice this blue and orange back over here. This was from last night. Today, it's still got some blue, a smaller orange area there. So looks like this thing is kind of evolving a little bit. I don't think it's weakening. It may just be going through some type of stage there, but it does still harbor a beta gamma delta structure. That's 4087 right here. Beta gamma delta. It is growing. So we'll continue to watch that area for some future strong flares. I'm leaving the flare threat elevated as well at about 30% chance for an X flare. M flare around 65. That's fairly reasonable. 85% chance for C flare. That's interesting. I've never seen them drop it from 99. We're almost always in C flare activity, but okay. Proton events up there around 10% pending. It shoots off some protons there as far as these stronger flares go. We do have a coronal hole number 48. This is the latest imagery. One portion of it currently facing the Earth. Potentially, this could stir up the auroras here in about 72 hours or so upon the arrival of that high-speed solar wind stream. So we'll watch for that, see if the Storm Prediction Center, Space Weather Prediction Center, adds that there onto the forecast. Right now, nothing showing up. far as any major aurora activity events there on the map. 93% illumination there of the moon. And let's see what else we got here. As far as any close approach asteroids, always good to double check this in case there's some new ones that have popped up by surprise. I don't see anything super close. I see something super massive, over 1,000-foot stadium-size asteroid. We definitely want to keep that thing at least 4 million miles away from Earth. That's good. Aside from that, everything looks calm and clear for now. Storm Prediction Center for severe convection out there, severe weather, convection style there. Got enhanced area across the Wisconsin area. I've seen Reed Timmers heading up there to chase some tornado potential today. There's actually a decent 10% hatched area across those area in this region in the dashed zone. That includes Chicago, Illinois, Indianapolis, Milwaukee. Heads up today. 34 million people in that zone of significant severe weather area. That's for some tornado activity out there. 5% in this burnt red kind of color and 2% in the green. Got some wind and some hail threats out there as well. So all forms of severe weather appear likely today with these thunderstorms firing up. Just a heads up. All right, one little earthquake right there. I see it on Mendocino. Nothing big, but there's a couple smaller spikes there. I don't think the USGS is reporting the smaller ones. Let's see what we got. No, they're not. But there is some little smaller earthquake activity out there. Got to watch it. The Cascadia subduction zone showing a lot of tremor here recently. And if we go back in the last all data map here, goes back to 2010. Tremor activity is fairly new discovery, but it does happen in a lot of the subduction zones around the globe. If we go back here to a similar event to what we're seeing right now with a decent amount of tremor, it takes us back here to towards the end of 2024. October, somewhat November up here, seeing a similar amount of tremor, and then it just dropped off like a rock. And then December of last year, following this tremor activity, is when we had that large 7-pointer strike out here across Northern California. So I'm going to watch this closely, see if that doesn't turn into something. As always, I still think that when the tremor activity is amplified out here, it's not only adding further strain upstream, we see it resulting in these stress earthquakes there across Northern California, and also sometimes these surface quakes that are happening across the Pacific Northwest. That's due to the strain out here being built up. But also the likelihood of seeing a larger event is much more amplified. That it's more possible here that we could see a big earthquake following tremor uptick. It only makes sense, right? As you're bending this plate down, accommodating for the stress and strain between the two plates here, it increases with the tremor, and it's like, just kind of adding a little bit more strain on that stick as you're trying to bend it and break it. And eventually that strain will pop and release a big earthquake out here. Not like a stick. It's not going to break in half, but it will sure rebound and produce that big earthquake and tsunami. So just watching that closely, folks. Not fear-mongering, just bringing awareness out there across what's going, across the Cascadia. It's a sleeping giant. I wish more people were aware of it. I was out there a couple years back in Lincoln City or Gold Beach. I think it was Gold Beach down here. I was looking at the tsunami evacuation routes that they have just to see if it's posted enough. And even with tsunami evacuation routes out there, I asked a couple people there at the motel I was staying, locals, if they know about the big earthquake activity out here that could take place. And they're like, yeah, isn't that supposed to happen along the San Andreas Fault? I heard Los Angeles is supposed to get it. Little do they know, that is right offshore there. That they shouldn't even be worried about the San Andreas Fault down here. They should be worried about the Cascadia subduction zone. So I'm a little surprised at the lack of knowledge out there on, the sleeping beast that sleeps offshore. So many beautiful communities out there that are, right at sea level. And this whole area is expected to drop a number of feet following the release of that tension that's been springing this area up. And then, the worst case is the water comes back in after that with the tsunami. So there's a lot of danger out here lurking in the Pacific for the Northern California area northward. And it's happened. 1700 was the last big one, big old 9-pointer. And, got to know what to do. Got to be aware of the potential out here. When I was staying at those motels out here along the beach for a little, it was kind of a business trip there to look at some tsunami deposits along the Cascadia area, well inland, like a mile inland. I couldn't sleep at the motels. Any little creak or crack, say someone's walking upstairs, it just woke me up. It's like, whoa, is that an earthquake? Because it's, you have to be quick when things start moving out here. You start feeling strong shaking. That's a sign there to not wait, but to just, grab your stuff and go. Head up to higher land. These guys do get some earthquakes. That big 7-pointer down here in Northern California, a little stirring up some nerves out there across Northern California last year. But the big 9-pointer is going to be much stronger. And when you feel that stronger shaking there, don't wait. Grab your stuff, your family, your important documents, your earthquake kit that you should have already, and jump in the car if you can, pending the roads are open. If they're not and everything's damaged, you're going to have to go on foot and find that tsunami evacuation route up to higher ground. Because it could come anytime. The thing is, it is going to happen. It's not a maybe, not a if. It might happen. No, it is going to happen. That's the facts. And that's not fear-mongering. That's just scientific 100% facts. It's happened before. It's happened many, many times before. We're just living in the time right now where we just haven't experienced it. 1700, that was a long time ago. So, again, the regular intervals run between 250 up to 500 years. But to use that later number, 500 years, that would not be good. We're in the time frame right now where we could see it at any given moment. All right, I'm out here, folks. It's supposed to be about, I think it's supposed to be about 90 degrees here today, Northern California. So I'm going to go, might go get some yard work done. I might barbecue. I don't know. See what the day has in store here. If you didn't catch the message last night, member drawing is now on the 20th of each month. I decided to switch it up there after a number of years, keeping on the 15th. It'll work better. Not going to give the reasons or details for the 20th of each month now. So here in 5 days, we'll do the member drawing, and we'll do that from here on out, the 20th of each month. All right, what else we got here, folks? I think that's about it. Seismograph stations are quiet. Just be prepared. Don't be scared, right? Got to be prepared. Got to have an earthquake plan. It's a beautiful day out here right now, but that could turn, very ugly with one big earthquake out here. And we're fairly well primed, all the way from the Queen Charlotte Sound area all the way down to Southern California. Many faults in between, well overdue. We've been lucky. We've been living in some quiet times here, but it will be coming to an end. Question is when, and are you prepared? All right, I'm out of here. Have yourself a wonderful day. We will see you guys out here a little bit later on this evening for the Thursday night update. Take care, folks. Stay safe.